we're going to go ahead and take a look at number 117 from section 1.5 dealing with complex numbers. 117 reads as x squared minus 2/3 x is equal to negative 2/9. And what you are asked to do is to use the quadratic formula in order to solve this. Your final answer, since we are working with complex numbers, it should be written in that classic format of a plus bi. In other words, you want your real number first, plus or minus whatever your imaginary value is. Okay, so one of the first things that should be noted here is that this is not in the appropriate quadratic equation format. You want everything to be isolated to one side. So in order to rectify that, let's go ahead and add 2/9 to both sides so that the left-hand side is, the left-hand side contains everything and the right-hand side is cleared. So we have x squared minus 2/3 x plus 2/9 is equal to 0. So now we can go ahead and actually dig deep into this. So our quadratic formula, if you recall, say it with me, it'll be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Okay, in this case our a is 1, our b is negative 2/3, and our c is 2/9. Okay, so again, recall that when you're identifying a, b, and c, it's only the coefficients. You will never have variables in your identified a, b, and c. So for a, note that the coefficient is 1. If you don't see that number there, but you do see the variable, it means that it has a coefficient of 1. Also note that b is equal to negative 2/3. So the sign that's out in front of that coefficient goes with it. So when we plug this in, we have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, let me extend my radical sign to include it, all over 2 times 1. Okay, so it's going to be calculation intensive, but really what you need to do is take your time. What I strongly suggest that you do is take a crack at this first. Then when you're done and you're ready, please go ahead and resume the video and follow along with what I'm doing and make sure that your calculations are matching up with mine in the sense that you're doing all the order of operations correctly. So now that you're back, I have a negative 2/3, so really this is just a positive 2/3 plus or minus square root of negative 2/3 squared. We can square the numerator and the denominator, so this will give us 4/9 minus 4 times 1 times 9. So note here, and we'll kind of talk about this in red, I can rewrite this so that they all look like fractions. So negative 4 times 1 times 2/9 will actually become negative 8/9, and this will all be over 2. So now let's go ahead and clean up our radicand, or our discriminant, or the value underneath the radical sign. And this gives me the square root of negative 4/9 all over 2. We can go ahead and evaluate that radical. So I know that because I have a negative in here, I will have an I in my solution. And again, let's kind of talk about the square root of 4/9. You can break that radical apart. So really the square root of 4/9 is equal to a 2/3. The square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. And this is all over 2. So now let's talk about this. Okay, let's go ahead and shorthand this first and say that I really have 2/3 divided by 2 plus or minus 2/3 divided by 2i. This obviously has a little bit of work that can be done to it in order to clean it up. So I'm going to kind of explain that in an aside here on the left side of the page. So if I have 2/3 divided by 2, I can rewrite this so that it reads 2/3 divided by 2. That might make it a little bit easier to interpret. We're more used to seeing the operation instead of the fraction bar. So if you recall, you kind of have this cardinal rule that says that you skip the first term, you flip the second term, and then you make this multiplication. So we will skip 2/3, so it will stay 2/3. I'm going to flip the 2, so I'm going to take its reciprocal, and then this becomes multiplication. And if you notice, the 2's will cancel out because you have one 2 sitting in the numerator, or the top half of the fraction, and you have another 2 sitting in the denominator, or the bottom half of the fraction. So this becomes 1/3. So we can actually get to our final solution here. So 2/3 divided by 2, as we've shown in the red on the left-hand side, that's equal to 1/3, plus or minus. And we have the same situation here. 2/3 divided by 2. Again, if you refer back to the work that we have over on the left-hand side here, you will find that it's 1/3, and then you have I. So here is your final solution, 1/3 plus or minus 1/3 I.